The 5 P's of selling. That's the talking points in today's episode of The Den. Stay tuned to hear more.
The Den, powered by the Lyons Group, where we talk real estate, entrepreneurship, and personal growth. We're a small team of partners sharing what we've learned along the way. Backed by over $500 million in real estate sales and over 2,300 successful transactions. You'll hear from proven experts and industry leaders with a fresh take on what's happening in real estate and beyond. Welcome to The Den.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of The Den. Today, we're going to be talking about the 5 P's of selling, the 5 P's that get our sellers the top price in the current market conditions. But before I get to that, let me introduce my friends, my partners, my co-hosts, the fellow members of the Lyons Group. To my left, Aspen, the Ninja Gruen, and to my right, Shannon, the boss, Martin Martinez. My name is Ben, the Pop Prince Podcast Lyons. I got 3 P's in there.
And you are Benjamin P. Lyons.
The Benjamin P. Lyons.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's 4 P's, but it's not as cool as the 5 P's that our sellers use to get the top dollar in the market. So that's going to be our talking points today. Is there's a process that you go through as a seller, and if you do it right, you can get top dollar in the current market. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to shed some light on the 5 P's today. So that's our talking points. Any guesses, ladies, on the first P in the 5 P sequence?
Prepare.
Prepare.
Is it?
That's good, Ninja.
Good.
Yeah, so the first P in the 5 P sequence is prepare your home for market. And since you won that,
Oh no.
let's kick it off, Aspen. What's your, if a seller's going to go to market, very first thing is prepare your house. Let's talk about just a few things that a seller should do to prepare their home for the market.
First thing I always say, deep clean everything under the kitchen sink, just everywhere, because people are going to be opening up all the drawers. They're going to be opening up cabinets. They're going to notice if your baseboards are dirty. They're going to notice if your front entryway is dirty. Just cleaning up any weeds, just really kind of getting things ready so you can also see, oh, I need to touch up the paint on this wall, or I need to fix a little dent here or there. Anything that you can do just to kind of spruce it up. But I actually wouldn't go too crazy with repairs without talking to a realtor first. But cleaning, definitely.
Yes, cleaning, super important. Shannon, I know you're a clean freak.
Yeah, and I always say the most important thing to clean is the front patio, front porch, front door. That area is the first impression that somebody's going to get is when they hit your front door. And if you've got the brown fingerprints all the way down the side and cobwebs on your doorbell, it's not setting the tone for it. So yeah, freshen up your entryway.
Yeah, because any type of deferred maintenance, especially walking up to the home, right? You walk up and you got cobwebs, you've got mulch that's kind of sprayed around, you've got gravel that's missing spots, bushes or trees that are unkept, right? It just sets the stage for their experience in the home.
And
fair or not, right?
And how many people, how many sellers have you had that say things like, well, they're buying the house, that stuff doesn't matter. It does matter. Even if it's subconscious, it's a feeling when they walk up to it. It sets the tone for how they feel about the house and how they feel about the condition.
Yeah.
I actually thought of you the other day because I never go out my front door and I always, go through my garage, and I had walked in because I'd driven in the truck with Bryce and I was like, my front entryway needs to be spruced up. I was like, she would notice this. Even my the little wreath that you have. I mean, I've had that thing probably 10 years. I'm like, I think maybe I need a new one. It's all it's all dusty. It's kind of starting to fall down. There was kind of just debris around, and then we have a pretty high entryway, and there was cobwebs and stuff. They're not crazy, but I was like, I could use a little power wash up here.
Just enough, right? Yeah. I mean, that's how it's funny because I went up to our front door the other day and I was like, oh, our mats are worn big time. And that would be one of the first things I would do is just swap those mats out. And
it's not a big deal for just you and your family coming and going through it. But when you are welcoming somebody potentially that is going to be critical of your home, like a home buyer, that's when it matters. Yeah. The everyday, all of our patios look like that.
Yeah.
You know,
For the most, unless you're a vlogger. right?
Oh, because you redo the patio all the time.
Yeah, the influencers are always like, walk with me to do the Halloween decoration. We're coming up on that. So the fall. Do you do fall for your?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, we're actually talking about not doing our Halloween party this year,
Whoa.
which I think some people might be upset about, but I want to just hang out with the trick-or-treaters and maybe go with my kids trick-or-treating.
Yeah.
Their own. So we're talking about maybe not doing as big this year, maybe just having a few people over, because we always go pretty big.
Yep. Well, you can still do like a driveway hangout, right?
Oh yeah, we definitely will still decorate, and because we have, hundreds of trick-or-treaters come through our neighborhood. I think I did full-size candy bars last year, which was fun, but I was buying them all year long. I'm buying them now still, and we ran out in
You know what
an hour.
full-size candy bars do? They put a target on your house.
They do. They tell their friends they keep coming back. Yeah.
You'll never believe this.
The real issue was, because I've always wanted to do that, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And every time I went grocery shopping at Sam's Club last year, I'd buy a box, and I was like, okay, like I left, and then I had it all in like a laundry basket, and I went inside for 5 minutes and left the 10-year-olds in charge of handing out candy. I came out, and I was like, what did you guys do?
Gone.
They're like, we were just giving them some. I was like,
Just
oh my
handfuls.
gosh.
When you get
Years
a
worth of work.
full size, you get one
You
candy.
get
at
one
that
candy
house.
bar. I was like, oh, okay.
A year's worth of work down the drain in like 5 minutes.
That's okay. Some kids were really happy.
Right?
Well, that's the first P, is preparing your home for market. Do not sleep on that step. I mean, it really is so important. And like you said, people check. I mean, they look at baseboards. They look at, they'll open your cabinets,
I had a customer last week that actually went out and power washed all their stucco because it had just, with all the rain, the mud had splashed up and it didn't look nice. And she wanted it looking good for pictures.
Yeah.
Makes a difference.
Well worth it. Well worth it. So preparing your home for market is number one thing. The second thing, a little bit controversial, but I believe it to be true. One of the best things you can do is the second P, which is the pre-inspection on your home. And I believe that is one of the most powerful things you can do because it puts you in the driver's seat for negotiations. Now, there are caveats to that, when a pre-inspection is important, but if you are a primary resident, that's your home, your primary home, I think it behooves you to do a pre-inspection on the property. Shannon, what are your thoughts?
I like the pre-inspection. I mean, I know that some people worry about it opening up for liability or having to disclose certain things. But in my opinion, if I get my home inspection and it says that I need, I've got maybe some cracked shingles and some nail pops and I've got, maybe a leak under a sink, I know that these are some things that maybe I can call, my roofing guy over to take care of. And maybe my husband can fix the leak under the sink. And I can get a lot of this stuff tied up pretty easily as opposed to a buyer that's going to come in and have a contractor look at it and send me thousands of dollars for, contractors to do that. I like being in the driver's seat and I like being able to say, this is what I have found. These are the things that were important. These are the things I'm going to take care of. And somebody making an offer based on that, as opposed to making an offer just assuming everything's good and then start deducting.
And
as
an
they're
inspector
finding
will come out
things.
and re-inspect it too. So to make sure, that leak is fixed and the roof, pops are fixed. So they'll come back out with that pre-inspection.
Exactly. That's not to say that you don't have to fix it right. It's just to say that you can fix it on your terms, which are probably going to be a lot better, than, because for me, I want to make sure if I'm buying a house, I don't want to trust who you're choosing to do it. I want to choose who does it. So, that's what everybody wants.
Yeah. Well, and it kind of eliminates the game within the game, right? So, the game is you get a property under contract. And then the game within the game is, oh, here comes the inspections and here we go. Now we're back and forth and something's wrong with the roof. So I'm calling my contractor to go out there and give us a quote. And so you get this back and forth that happens during the objection phase, an inspection, due diligence, objection phase. And hopefully there's a resolution, you move forward. But if you can hand someone a pre-inspection report and say, these are the things that I discovered, these are the things I did, here's the invoices by the licensed contractors that took care of it, it helps eliminate that, doesn't it? I mean, wouldn't you think that that's a more powerful position to be in as a seller?
I would for my house. I did for my last house, and I would most of the time. There are a few times whenever I wouldn't do a pre-inspection. Sometimes you list a house and it's going to go within a day. And you're going to have multiple offers and it's going to be competitive and people might waive inspections, or in that case, you kind of already have eliminated it, because if you get 3-4 offers on day one and someone comes in a week later with a list of inspection objections, you can just call some of the other people and say, here's what they objected to. And are you okay with this at the price or whatever it might be? So sometimes I wouldn't recommend a pre-inspection, but a majority of the time I would.
Hi, this is Aspen Gruen. I'm a partner at the Lyons Group. We're dedicated to making your real estate experience the best it can be. If you're looking to buy or sell, go to sjcbroker.com and watch our informational video series. These videos break down the process and shed some light on buying or selling. While you're there, schedule a private consultation with one of our partners. We'd love to sit down, talk strategy, and give you a real advantage in today's market. You deserve the best, so take those steps, and we'll see you soon. Now back to the show.
What's another example, Shannon, of someone that wouldn't do a pre-inspection? Maybe it wouldn't behoove them.
Well, okay. So like say you have a 75-year-old house and you decide I'm going to get a full inspection and I'm going to do, a sewer scope and some things that maybe they would not have done. And now you've discovered things that you have to disclose to them. And, maybe that buyer wouldn't have cared. Maybe that buyer wouldn't have even looked into that or even worried about it. And you didn't have any knowledge of anything going on there. But now you're discovering things that you're obligated to tell. And now you're obligated to, you're not obligated to fix them. But now that you've told them, they have an expectation of those things being taken care of.
Now you need to account for it in the price or something to that effect.
Yeah.
Another example is, let's say you inherited a house, a 75-year-old home, right? And you live in Wisconsin and the house is here in southern Colorado or New Mexico. I don't know if I would want a pre-inspection in that situation. I don't want to know. Like, let's go to market and let the market dictate, where we land. I mean, do you see that in situations as well?
It could be. Could be nice to know some things as well, just so you know if you're going to need, okay, the roof is really getting dilapidated. If you haven't seen it in person, it might be nice to know some things, but I don't think I'd be doing sewer scopes or anything like that.
Yeah. Going above and beyond on those.
Yeah, you get a little invasive and you start learning things that you wish you didn't have to tell people about.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Well, that brings me to, while we're on the topic, in New Mexico, and I'm assuming in Colorado the same, if you understand or know of a latent defect, something that could be considered an adverse material fact is what we call it. And an adverse material fact is basically some knowledge that if you had that knowledge, you may make a different decision, right? That's kind of the acid test for it. If you know of an adverse material fact, you have to disclose it here in New Mexico. Is that the same in Colorado?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the same.
Across the country.
I
mean, it makes sense, right? And people talk about non-disclosure states. That's not what we're talking about.
Disclosure is just price.
Yeah,
That's it. Yeah.
Non-disclosure is talking about how the assessor and some of these public entities disclose information to the general public. That doesn't mean that you cannot not disclose information about your home that may make a decision, may sway a decision for a buyer.
And if we're realtors and we see that there's a roof leak and you didn't disclose that there's a roof leak, we have to disclose it.
We have an obligation. Absolutely. So if you did that sewer scope and you saw a bunch of roots and a collapsed line and the seller's like, you notice that they didn't put it on the property disclosure statement. Oh, well, we need to disclose it as realtors. We have an obligation there. So that is the second P of the 5P sequence. We're moving right along here. The third P is pricing. It's a big P. Pricing is a huge strategy. And yeah, pricing is strategy. People don't realize that. They think, well, the price is what it is. Is that true, Ninja?
No. So there was a house that I knew was going to sell pretty quickly. It was beautiful. We kind of were talking about maybe waiting until summer to list it, but there was not a single house listed on the street. And I thought that maybe if you were going to be coming up towards the end of the school year, because it was in a neighborhood that typically had a lot of families in it. And so I was like, we should list like now, like today, and we're going to list higher. So we listed above and got multiple offers. And then a few weeks later, whenever school got out, there was like 4 houses in that neighborhood that went up for sale. So I think it was a good time to move pretty quickly.
I just had that conversation last night with a customer of mine. She's been looking for a couple of months at relocating, and we've been talking about it. And just a few months ago, in the neighborhood she lives in, there were, I want to say, 5 or 6 homes, and they all sat maybe 30 to 90 days. But now they've all closed, and the only 3 that are in her neighborhood are literally twice the price of what hers is. None of the reasonably priced ones are even out there anymore. And I was telling her that last night. I'm like, this is a pretty good time because anybody looking up there, the majority of them aren't buying the $900,000 houses. They're going to be looking at that $500,000 house, So it is that timing could be, and you can ask a little bit more when you're the only one on the market.
Yeah. Well, and our audience probably doesn't realize this, but we have micro markets and we have waves in these micro. And that's exactly what these two are talking about is you have a section of the market, like a neighborhood, an area or something. And in that area, there may be a wave of a lot of listings and you go, ooh, we got to be more competitive. Or like what happened to you is it's dropped off. Man, we could probably get a premium for this. Let's jump on it. And so you really need to think through those things and have a competent professional that's looking at that for you because that can make a big swing in value. I mean, how big of a swing in value was that for
It
you?
was probably about $20,000.
$20,000.
That's the number we were actually talking last night as well. That's what's funny. We were talking about that. She was saying, do you think I could go maybe about 20 more? And I said, right now, yes. 6 months ago, 4 months ago, no. You had competition.
Yep.
And my comps came in lower, but I was like, let's try it because it was just one that I was like, this one's going to go quick. And we ended up getting multiple offers. It didn't go higher, but
it sold for $20K probably more than it would normally. And you're thinking the same thing about $20K. I mean, huge difference for somebody, for a homeowner. I mean, that's big money there for a lot of people.
That's why whenever I do, and I say this all the time, when I do a market analysis, I always take into consideration active listings as well. I don't use those to price it, but I will do the market analysis based on this and then we'll say, okay, this is where it's coming in at, but we also have on the market right now, if there's, 30 homes in that price range that are all very comparable to yours, then you might want to think about a strategy of maybe being a little bit more aggressive, offer some closing costs or lower the price, do something of that nature to compete more. If you're the only one under 300,000, there's nothing else on the market, that people are just going to be begging for you to look at their offer.
And sometimes you just know it's going to take longer. Like I have a listing that's the biggest house in the neighborhood and it's a popular neighborhood, but it is by far the biggest house, which means it's up in Durango. It's about 300, 400,000 more than the other houses in the neighborhood. And it's a big difference. And so we knew listing it, this is going to take a little bit. And it has, and we're kind of starting to build a little bit more interest. Interest rates have dropped a little bit. So we're thinking it'll probably go relatively soon, but we kind of anticipated, we know we're listing higher, but still a fair price. So getting people in this area is going to be the tricky part.
When I talk with sellers, most of the time I have a conversation about there's really kind of 3 stages of pricing, right? You have what we call aspirational pricing, and that's with homes that are kind of similar to that, where you really don't have a baseline, right? You have a really high-end home. You may not have the comps for it, and you go, well, it's better to give yourself a little bit of room than really shortcut it on an aspirational home, right? One of these one-offs, but that's really rare, right? And I can think just of a handful of homes that falls into. Then there's inline pricing, where you try to find what is right in line with the market and then time it right? And that's some of the situations that you two just discussed, was like the wave just happened to crash and there's another one building and boom, you priced it and you're going to get top dollar for it. The third layer of pricing is demand-based pricing, which I think is extremely effective and one of the most overlooked pricing strategies, and that is to find a little bit aggressive price point and allow the market to push that price up, or at the very least find really excited buyers for your home and be a lot less likely to dicker on the price and more likely to give you your terms. So demand-based pricing to me is one of the most overlooked pricing strategies, but probably one of the most beneficial for sellers. What are your thoughts, ladies?
Yeah, I agree. And I have a pretty good example for that as well. We were listing a house kind of in rural Durango, and we knew that they wanted to get around 1-1. It was a really nice house, but the neighborhood, it was kind of spread out and the neighbors directly weren't super awesome. But we just weren't getting that many showings. We weren't getting anything. And they were like, well, we might have to pull it. We might have to do something differently. I was like, let's list it right under $1 million. Like, let's just get under that mark and try and get some people in. And same thing. They were like, okay, but we're not taking that level. I was like, let's just try and get some people in. An influx of people came, and then we got multiple offers, and they got 1-1. Exactly. Isn't that funny how that
Isn't that incredible?
happens? It's because it had been listed for a long time.
So much is psychological for a buyer. It's they want the deal and they don't want to be left behind. That FOMO is real.
Yeah.
So if there's a home that's a good price, they're even willing to pay more for it to be the one that gets it.
Yeah, the
even if
competition kicks in, right?
Yeah.
We literally just like 9,999.
Yeah.
Like just to try and get it.
Yeah.
But it was crazy.
Wow, that's wild. Great example of in-demand pricing, right? So you have aspirational, very rare you get one of those. You have inline pricing, which I think most people try to do. It really is successful if you time it right. And then you have demand-based pricing, which I think is the most effective and really actually is probably the best thing for the seller. So sellers out there, pay attention to that because it's kind of counterintuitive. What do you mean I'm going to price my home a little bit lower than the competition? Yeah, because you're going to get that push from the market. And it really is going to help. Instead of chasing the market down with price reductions, you're going to have the market push up.
And I guarantee you, and I tell people this, if you do price it low and you don't get multiple offers, you weren't going to get that high price to begin with.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can rest easy, not feeling like, wow, it didn't work. I didn't get all the offers I thought I was going to get. You weren't going to get them at that price.
And I have never had one come up that high. Normally it's, a smaller swing is typically what you would see, but maybe 20, 30,000 is kind of the
But you at least know that you got the top.
Yep.
There's not anything left to question. There's not
when people are
anybody
bidding
worried
against
about
each other, you're getting the top of the market.
How do you feel about that for like high priced home or not like a more luxury homes? Do you think at that point it's good to price in line or a little bit lower because those are going to take?
Yeah.
Well, those are so specialized anyway.
That's kind of the aspirational
Yeah,
part.
you may not have 4 or 5 interested buyers at any given time.
Yeah, you might have one.
Exactly.
Over 6 months.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's where I think the aspirational pricing is like you put it out there because you really don't know, right? Those are the type of homes you don't know how the market's going to respond. But it's so rare that you do that. I mean, most of the time you're going to have a really good idea of where it's going to land. So, and I do have one quick example. We actually had a home that was listed for $1.2 million and we just weren't getting the traction. I told the seller, I said, look, I would say this is a $950,000 home, the property in today's market. And he thought on it for a while. And him and his wife came back and said, we would like to do an absolute auction. And an absolute auction, for those that don't know, means that the auction starts at $1. And if the landing bid, the ending winning bid is $200,000, that home sells. You're obligated to sell that home for $200,000. Major risk for these owners. I mean, big time. I was sweating bullets as the realtor, and I didn't even have any stake in the game. So we advertised this absolute auction, and the run up to that was about 3 or 4 weeks, where you got the excitement from the people. And guess where?
And we never had as many people look at it as they did during that auction period.
Yeah, it was wild.
We could not get the traction in the door very much.
Yeah. And so, and they had reduced. We started at 1.2. They had gone down to close to $1 million, but we just couldn't get the traction. It ended up selling for $980,000. I mean, a little bit higher than where I told them it would be. And that is a testament to, if you allow the market, even if you price your home at $1, it's going to bid up to where it should be in the market because consumers are educated. They understand what values are. They've been looking.
I've thought about doing that like with my house. Like if I ever sell, like let's just price it at like nothing and just see where it comes up to. But I'm like, oh,
let the buyers figure out what that price is.
Sure. Yeah. And that's funny because you could always, in that situation, you could always say, well, no, right? But in this absolute auction, they were on the hook. So interesting concept. We have to explore that. Okay, moving on to the fourth P, pre-market strategy. This is another one that's overlooked, and a lot of people in this business just don't know how to pre-market a property, but gives our sellers a huge advantage when we're able to pre-market the home. In my opinion, you're allowing, because we have rules, right? We have rules that we have to stick to as realtors. It's called clear cooperation. So if we put a listing out there or I should say this, on social media or a sign in the yard, within 24 hours of that, we have to have it in the MLS. However, there's a caveat to that. We can release it to our network of buyers for an indefinite period and allow them to take a first look at the property. And that's called a pre-market strategy. We do that quite a bit because it allows the buyers to get the inside track on a home that they would otherwise be competing against, right? And it allows the seller to stay in the position of, hey, I'm going to ask my terms and you're going to give me my terms. And if not, guess what?
Right.
I'm going to go to market.
Yep.
So it's a very, very powerful strategy that we use. Shannon, have you seen that net some great results?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I feel like when somebody knows that they got the inside track and they were able to buy something before it hit the market, they didn't have to compete with anybody, they're a lot more likely to say, I'm going to give you the price that you want and I'm not going to dicker on the home inspection stuff. I mean, maybe if there's something major, but I'm really not going to ask too much because I know that I'm getting a good deal here, as opposed to if it hits the open market and I have to start competing with people, now I'm probably going to be paying a little bit more at that point. And I think for the seller too, I think what's good for them is that how many times do we have sellers that just say they're just not looking forward to like all their interior of their house being shown on the internet to everyone in the world, or how they're not looking forward to packing up their dogs every 2 hours because there's going to be people coming in the door, and they have to leave for showings. So for them, it's a great strategy as well. If they can get their price, they can get their terms that they want, that they know that they can get out of that house without having to do all that. It's a win for them as well.
Yeah. What about the people that say, Aspen, that's not fair. That's not fair to do a pre-market strategy?
I think the only people that are saying that are other realtors.
Are the people that don't have access to
Yeah,
them. Sure.
because you don't have to do it. I actually have a good example of this. I had was talking to these people who wanted to sell and buy, and they told me that they were interviewing a bunch of other realtors, and I kind of talked about the pre-market strategy, and they were like, well, we kind of really know another realtor pretty well, so we might end up going with her. I said, okay, that's fine. So we had spoken about the pre-market. They ended up listing it with someone else. No worries. They called me just a few days ago and they said, hey, you said that you had because their house was kind of perfect investment house. And they did end up listing it, a little bit higher than I would have recommended. But they called and they said, you said you had people that you could send it out to that might be interested. I said, yeah, pre-market.
Pre-market.
Yeah.
Pre-market. Like it's
You
not
missed
exclusive.
it.
I was like, I can send it to people, but it's not exclusive anymore. I'm sure they've already seen it. So it had, and I was like, that was what we had discussed. And he's like, oh, well, I guess, we just thought I would sell quickly. And I'm like,
Yeah.
sorry.
It's the gamble and the risk you run.
And they listed it a decent bit higher than I thought that they should, which is probably ultimately the issue that they're having with selling it. But they've had the same thing, showings after showings after showings where they have to leave. They have dogs. And I'm like, totally feel for them. But
Sellers, this is the beauty of pre-marketing. Let's say you didn't listen to the ninja and you went a little bit higher on your price, but you pre-market it. What's the worst thing that happens? You get some feedback. People
Right.
go, love it, great property, too high on the price. And you can make that adjustment and then go to market. Like pre-marketing is so powerful.
and then there's no stigma. It hasn't been sitting there.
You don't waste your splash effect. Huge benefits to that. We're trucking right along. Right to the next one is the final one, the most important one, picking your realtor. That's a good segue right into the
there you go.
last P.
Yeah.
You should pick a realtor that works well with you, that you trust, that you have confidence in. What would be some of the questions you would ask Aspen, a realtor that, I know you go by gut a lot of times.
Yeah. It would have to be a good feeling for me. And it would have to be, and for me, I mean, I do think I try and make an educated decision. So they would have to be knowledgeable. They would need to come prepared. They would have to know the area, maybe know some, a range of numbers. I would want them to come ready to give me answers, be able to answer questions. But I would also have to have a good feeling with them if I felt that they were being really pushy with me. Personally, for me, that's a turnoff. I know some people really like that. So it would definitely be a feeling. But also, obviously look at reviews, look at all these different things. But yeah, it'd probably be my gut.
Yeah.
Mainly.
Gut goes a long way. It does.
Yeah,
Shannon, what would be one of your things?
When you talk about being pushy, it's funny because I can remember years ago having, I had a customer of mine that said, he didn't feel like I was hungry enough, that he wanted someone that was really hungry and could try to get his household, but he had overpriced it. And I told him, okay, and that's fine. And I had given him all the reasons why I felt like it should be priced at a certain point. We had that discussion, and I allowed him to price it where he wanted to price it. And then when it didn't sell, he wanted, he said he tried to mention that, maybe I just wasn't hungry enough for the business.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I can't manufacture people that want to overpay for your house because you want that for it, But I've always been of the mindset of, you want the realtor that can say no to you. You want the realtor that's going to give you the true and accurate information. You want the realtor that is going to give you all the options, all the information, all the scenarios, and allow you to make some decisions and work through with you. And if we have to sit on the market while you've satisfied yourself that it's not going to sell there, that's okay.
Because we would love to sell your house.
I would love to sell it for more. And if you're right,
Yeah.
I am very happy with that. Exactly. So let's just, let's start it where you feel comfortable. I've given you the info, and then we'll work together, and we can come down as your comfort level, you're being satisfied that it's not going to happen. So yeah, I think you really have to find somebody that you feel comfortable with, because if you feel like it's not selling, I'm not going to get my price because they're not hungry enough. Okay, well then find somebody that's just going to give it to you and be really gung ho. It's probably still not going to work out for you, but you're going to feel good about your decision as opposed to feeling like I got somebody that didn't, work for me.
I always tell people, I'm going to tell you what I actually think it will sell for. I'm not going to raise the price to try and get the listing. And then I've had people one time call me back and say, well, this realtor said that they could sell it for this price. And I said, if they can sell it for that price, you need to go with them, because I don't think I'll be able to do it for that. And it didn't sell. But also, that's not to say that they didn't try. And also, the whole hungry realtor, I don't know if I'd want someone that was too hungry or desperate for work that they're trying to force together.
I always say, choose somebody that is willing to say no to you.
Yeah.
That's somebody who has confidence and knows what they're doing and is a firm
compromise.
professional.
Yeah, doesn't compromise their integrity.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's a lot to be said. So
if I need your business to make it another month in this industry, I may not be the best realtor out there.
Yep. Well said. Well, we're wrapping up the 5 Ps. Very important to get top dollar in any market. You have to have those 5 Ps together, in my opinion. Now, I'll let you all argue in the comment section, but that's just my opinion on it. Great discussion, ladies. Thank you for that today. If you like our content, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Of course, you can go to our Facebook page, and you can always go to sjcbroker.com and schedule a private consultation with any one of the Lyons Group. We would love to sit down with you, whether you're buying or selling, residential or commercial, and give you an advantage in today's market. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Den. Until next time, we'll see you then.
Thanks for tuning into The Den, powered by the Lyons Group. If you got value from today's episode, hit subscribe so you never miss what's next. Check the show notes with direct links to our buyer and seller video series, your inside track to making smarter moves in real estate. Want to take it further? Visit sjcbroker.com to learn more about the Lyons Group or schedule a private consultation today. Complex markets demand smart strategies. Whether you're buying or selling, residential or commercial, we're here to give you the edge. We're time-tested experts with a client-first approach, and we'll see you next time in The Den.